So, I think there are three kinds of Fallout fans. The first kind played Fallout in 1997 on a computer from above in turn-based combat. The second kind came in through New Vegas or went back to it later, and they hate everything that Bethesda has done to the franchise. And the third kind started with Fallout 3 or Fallout 4 or the show. Hundreds of hours in the Commonwealth, opinions on power armor, and they typically never played an isometric Fallout in their life. Well, this video takes into account all three groups. I'm ranking every Fallout game oldest to newest. This series has been an isometric turn-based RPG, a squad tactics game, a PlayStation 2 brawler you have probably never touched, 2 first-person shooters with dialogue bolted on, and an online survival game. 3 companies have owned it in that time. Interplay made it and then went broke. Bethesda bought the whole thing out of the wreckage for under $6 million, and today it's owned by Microsoft. Okay, let's get into it, starting with 1997, with a company that had no idea what it had just built. Fallout 1, 1997. This one invented so much. The special system, karma, town reputation that follows you. The ending slideshow, where a narrator tells you flatly what became of every place you touched, which is still the standard closing move for the entire genre, almost 30 years later. And the tone. This is where the tone and flavor of the franchise first showed. That specific mix of a 1950s advertising voice and the vibes of a cheerful jingle sitting on top of nuclear annihilation. And it actually almost didn't have any of that. The game spent years in development built on the GURPS tabletop rules, licensed from Steve Jackson Games. And then in February 1997, 7 months before release, Interplay dropped the license. Steve Jackson said afterwards that he had no idea why, that nobody had told him officially, and that it blindsided the development team too. To this day, nobody has a clean answer. So, Interplay had to replace the entire rules system the game was designed around with the ship date already set. What saved them is that lead designer Chris Taylor had written his own RPG system years earlier on index cards and scraps of grid paper for fun. He still had the notes. They adapted those into special and built perks on top to replace the GURPS advantages. That's what's still running under every Fallout game today. And then there's the ending. You save the vault, you walk back to the door, and the Overseer tells you that you've seen too much and changed too much to come home, and exiles you into the desert. That's 1997. That's the note this franchise has been trying to hit ever since. Here's why it's not an S. I measure 2 main things. The first is the obvious one, writing, choices, and consequences. But my second criterion is, how long does the game keep being worth your time? How many hours of replayability, of enjoyable fun do you get? Fallout is incredible at the first one, but less so at the second one, and that's on purpose. There's a clock in Fallout 1, 150 days to find a water chip before your vault dies of thirst. You can buy another 100 by paying the water merchants in the hub, except that's not free either. Every day you buy comes straight off the second timer, the one counting down to the super mutants finding Vault 13 and killing everyone in it. A game about walking into an unknown wasteland handed you a deadline and then charged you time for more time. That second timer was 500 days, and it was unpopular enough that Interplay patched it out. Not to 0, technically. They stretched it to 13 in-game years, which in practice means it's gone. The map is small, a dozen or so locations that really matter. You'll finish it in 20 hours, and 12 months later, Fallout 2 arrived and did nearly all of it, bigger, looser, and with far more to actually do. So, it's an A, not an S. Fallout 1 is foundational, but that's different from being the best. Everything this series became came out of this game, and the sequel outgrew it in a year, which brings us to the next one. Fallout 2, 1998. The first thing it does is take the clock off. There is no water chip countdown, no invasion timer, no punishment for wandering. The map is much bigger, and the game just tells you to go figure it out. That single change is most of the distance between an A and an S, and Interplay covered it in 12 months. The size is one thing though, but the real appeal here, for me, is the level of reactivity. New Reno is the clearest example. 4 crime families, and you can work for any of them. Working for one closes doors with the others, and the game keeps track long after you've left town. You can pick up titles that follow you around. Slaver, child killer, made man. People react to them. You can get drunk in New Reno and wake up married, and your spouse will follow you across the wasteland for the rest of the game. And you can sell them into slavery, and a slaver 3 towns over will bring it up. Fallout 2 just does this so damn well. Your choices leave scars on the map, including the inconvenient ones. It's also where the franchise's politics got invented. The NCR shows up here for the first time as a young republic with a flag and ambitions. Vault City, the Enclave, the whole argument about what civilization is supposed to look like after the bombs. Everything Obsidian spent an entire game dissecting 12 years later started in this one. With all that said, the game is also a mess. Fallout 2 is tonally all over the place. Fallout 1 had jokes, but it kept a straight face. Fallout 2 keeps elbowing you in the ribs. Monty Python Bridgekeepers, a crashed Star Trek shuttle, a talking Deathclaw, a Godzilla footprint, all of it sitting a few feet away from quests about slavery and addiction. Sometimes it works. Sometimes you can hear the writers entertaining themselves. And it's shipped broken. Broken in the sense that quest lines just don't finish. The community patch that fixed it took years to arrive and is still how most people play the game today. So it was kind of a mess. It's also an S, and it's the only game on this board that takes both criteria outright. It's deeper than the first one on writing and consequence, and it's got no clock, a far bigger map, and enough optional content that 2 runs can visit genuinely different places rather than just solving the same places differently. Ambition with rough edges beats polish with nothing underneath it. Fallout 2 was the argument for that, even before Morrowind was. Then everything stopped. The Wilderness Years, 2001 to 2004. Fallout 2 shipped in 1998. The next mainline Fallout arrived in 2008. Here's what filled the gap. Interplay was going broke, so the name went to work. And we got Fallout Tactics, 2001. I'll go over this one quickly because I don't think it deserves mainline attention. Fallout Tactics is a squad game. Decent tactics, no dialogue trees, no wandering, and it rewrote the Brotherhood from isolationist tech hoarders into an expanding army with airships. Not terrible, competent game, but wrong franchise. For me, this is a C. Then the one that never shipped. Black Isle spent years on the real Fallout 3, codenamed Van Buren. Isometric, turn-based, a proper sequel. Caesar's Legion was written for it, so was The Big Empty. On the 8th of December 2003, Interplay cancelled it and shut Black Isle down the same day. Here's the part that should annoy you. It was cancelled in favor of Fallout Brotherhood of Steel. The isometric sequel died so the PlayStation 2 brawler could ship. And 7 years later, a lot of Van Buren walked into New Vegas anyway, carried there by the people who wrote it. Fallout Brotherhood of Steel, 2004. A PlayStation 2 brawler with a Fallout skin shipped to turn the name into cash before the lights went out. Straight into F tier. No questions asked. And Bethesda bought the franchise in 2007. And that's how we got Fallout 3, 2008. I'll give Bethesda this much, they bought a dead isometric RPG franchise and turned it into a first-person game, which every purist watching this said would kill it, and instead it made Fallout enormous. If there's no Fallout 3, then there's no New Vegas, no Fallout 4, TV show, even no Fallout 76, and the greatest tragedy, no me making this video. That all happened because Fallout 3 fundamentally worked, and parts of it are genuinely great. Stepping out of Vault 101 into the blown-out Capital Wasteland is still one of the best openings in the medium. The exploration loop Bethesda brought over from Oblivion turned out to suit Fallout perfectly because a wasteland full of things worth walking toward is exactly what the first 2 games were describing, but couldn't show you. Then you get to the writing. The main quest is a father-son story with almost no politics in it, in a series where politics was the entire point. Karma is a single number that goes up when you give water to a beggar and down when you steal a plate. And then the ending. You walk into a radiation chamber and you die, because the story says so. Standing next to you is Fox, a super mutant who is fully immune to radiation, and when you ask him to press the button, he tells you it's your destiny and refuses. The same goes for your ghoul and robot companion too. All immune to radiation. It went over so badly that Bethesda changed it in the DLC Broken Steel and then charged you for it. That DLC lets you send Fox in and continues the game past the ending so you survive either way. What they didn't do is re-record the narration, send a companion into the chamber, and the closing slides still tell you that you went back on everything you stood for. They patched the ending and left the game calling you a coward for using it. There's a world-building problem too. This is 200 years after the bombs and Washington looks like it happened 10 years ago. Nobody's farming, nobody's rebuilt anything. Fallout 2 had a functioning republic with a senate. Fallout 3 has people drinking out of puddles next to a bomb they worship. Fallout 3 gets a B tier from me. It goes in a good, not great category. Excellent world, okay? But not great RPG, and the most commercially important entry in the series. 2 years later, Bethesda handed Fallout to somebody else, and that somebody else made a masterpiece. Fallout New Vegas, 2010, 18 months. That's what Obsidian got. Somebody else's engine, somebody else's assets, a deadline that would embarrass even a mobile game, and a team stacked with the people Interplay had thrown out 7 years earlier who were carrying design work from a game that never shipped. And what they did with it is refuse to tell you who's right. That's the whole thing. 4 ways to end a game. Actually, a lot of ways, but 4 main ones. The NCR is a real democracy that's overextended, bureaucratic, and slowly strangling the people it annexes. The Legion is brutal, and it also makes the roads safe. Mr. House is competent, and he wants to own you. Independent Vegas is the option where you find out you might not be any better than the other 3. Every faction has a serious argument and a serious cost, and the game never once puts a thumb on the scale. Underneath that, the reactivity is the most detailed in the series, reputation tracked separately for every faction and nearly every settlement, and fame and infamy tracked as separate numbers. So, a town can genuinely love you and hate you at the same time for different things you did there. Now, on my second criterion, the amount of hours of fun, New Vegas isn't the strongest game here. The Mojave is smaller and emptier than the Capital Wasteland, with whole districts of buildings you can't walk into. And once you've run the 4 main endings, you've seen the argument. 3rd playthrough, 4th maybe, and the Mojave mostly stops surprising you. It's a game about a debate, and when you know every position in the debate, you've had it. It's still an S. It wins the first criterion so much that the second one doesn't bring it down. New Vegas shipped 5 million copies inside a month and made $300 million. Chris Avellone confirmed years later that they got nothing in a way of bonus because they didn't hit 85 on Metacritic, missed by 1. Regardless, it's a masterpiece. Moving on, Fallout 4, 2015. Now, I personally love Fallout 4, but let's do the prosecution first, because all of it is true. The dialogue wheel has 4 options, and one of them is always some flavor of sarcastic. The protagonist is voiced, which sounds like an upgrade until you realize it means you're always the same person. You're a parent looking for your kid. You can't be a drifter, a con artist, a cannibal, or an idiot with 3 intelligence because the voice acting has already decided who you are. Skills are gone, karma's gone, reputation is gone, and the 4 factions mostly land in the same place. The Institute, the Railroad, the Brotherhood, the Minutemen. Whichever you pick other than the Institute, you storm the Institute, you blow it up, the Commonwealth carries on. New Vegas gave you 4 genuinely different futures. Fallout 4 gives you 4 different people to be standing next to when the same thing happens. So, on my first criterion, it's the weakest mainline Fallout since the Wilderness years. Now the second one, Fallout 4 has the best map Bethesda has ever built. Not the biggest, the densest. It's the same reason why Skyrim's map worked. There's a level of vertical, packed, hand-placed detail in the Commonwealth that nothing else in the series manages. Interiors that lead to other interiors. Rooftops you can actually get onto. Roughly 400 locations, and the walk between any 2 of them keeps handing you something. And the systems just keep going. Weapon modding, where a pipe pistol you found in a ditch becomes something you're still using 40 hours later. Armor layering, power armor rebuilt as something you climb into and fuel rather than a suit you wear. Settlement building, which a lot of players hate, but also for a lot of other players, it's the main reason they have thousands of hours in the game. The writing critique also doesn't apply to everything. For example, Far Harbor has some of the best writing Bethesda has published, so much so that I genuinely wonder whether they actually outsourced the writing for it to someone. Fallout 4 has an 84 on Metacritic, exactly the same score as New Vegas, and when Bethesda broke this game last November with the Anniversary Edition, the reaction wasn't people shrugging and moving on. It was 9 months of people who were still playing it in 2026, furious that their game stopped working. That doesn't happen to a game people are finished with. It's A tier for me. It's a worse Fallout RPG than New Vegas, but it's a better game to keep coming back to, and both of those are true at the same time. New Vegas is the one I'd hand to somebody who's never played a Fallout. But Fallout 4 is the one they'd still be playing next year. 3 years later, Bethesda took the density and the building and the crafting, stripped out everything that made it a role-playing game, and put it online. And we got Fallout 76, 2018. The launch was one of the worst in the history of this industry. It shipped without human NPCs, which meant a Fallout game where the only people you could talk to were robots and terminals, broken in every direction. And then Bethesda spent the following year on a run of self-inflicted disasters. The collector's edition bag, the paid subscription, the refunds that turned a bad launch into a running joke. At launch, it was straight up F tier, not a controversial grade. And then, credit where it's due, they didn't walk away. Wastelanders put actual human NPCs and dialogue into the game in 2020. Years of updates since. Expeditions, seasons, new regions. When the show landed, the player numbers skyrocketed and a lot of those people stayed. There's a real active community in that game right now, and some of you watching are in it. So let me be clear about what I'm not saying. Fallout 76 in 2026 is not broken. It runs, it has content, it has more to do than most games on this board. It's a fine game by itself. It's still a B tier for me. And the reason has nothing to do with bugs. It's my first criterion. Writing, choices, consequences. In a shared world, consequence is the one thing you structurally cannot have. The Overseer can't exile you. New Reno can't remember what you did. Nothing you do can change the map, because the map has to still be there for the next person who logs in. Every ending in this franchise, all the way back to 1997, works because the world was yours to break. Fallout 76 can't offer that. Not because Bethesda made bad choices, but because it's a live service game, and live service games can't. On my second criterion, it scores great. It's built to hand you hours. That's the entire business model. But it never clicked for me. For me, this isn't really a mainline Fallout game. It carries the name, and it's where the franchise went, so it's on the board. But Fallout has always meant one person, alone, in a wasteland that changes because of what they did. Take that out, and you've got a good survival game wearing a vault suit. The only game here whose grade moved, and the only one where the ceiling was set on day one by what kind of game it decided to be. So, there's the board. 2S, 2A, 2B, 2C, 1F. The two games that take both criteria outright came out in 1997 and 1998, made by a company that went bankrupt. The best written one was made in 18 months by people who'd been fired. And the entry with the most hours in it isn't graded on writing at all. Nobody has made a Fallout that wins both since 1998. Bethesda got very good at the second criterion and stopped competing on the first. Obsidian did the reverse and never got another shot at it. Let me know what you think.